Questions for reflection. In our first reading, Paul tells Timothy to avoid resentment of masters and the wealthy. The ancient world was a place of vast inequality, and slavery was considered a normal practice. But the mission of the apostles was not first to change the political order of things, although as the church spread, her influence on the social order increased. But the mission of the church was and still is the salvation of souls, to convert the hearts of all people, whether they were master or slave, rich or poor, to Jesus Christ. In Jesus Christ, all men and women are set free, free to become servants of the Lord and one another. As Paul noted, there's only one kind of wealth worth pursuing, and it's spiritual. We can't take earthly wealth with us, but what robs us of our spiritual wealth is resentment. Resentment is fertile ground for sin. We may not be able to change the political and economic circumstances of our time overnight. And while some consider these circumstances unjust, we must look beyond that to what is truly important, the salvation of all. For if we expect complete justice from this world, we will be disappointed. But if we look for true freedom and justice in Jesus Christ, we will be satisfied. Our responsorial psalm warns that material wealth isn't a boast-worthy achievement, for when we die, it gets left for another. We are all equal, whether rich or poor, wise or a fool. If we concern ourselves with our worldly riches more than our true riches, we miss the mark, and that is what sin is. And unless we turn away from sin, we will also miss the greatest treasure, salvation. So let's look to our salvation first, for that's what matters. All else is a distraction. The gospel for today is a short but important one. It reminds us that Jesus and the 12 were sustained by a group of women who provided for them out of their own resources. What's remarkable here is that Jesus accepted the help of others. He could have created all the food and wealth he needed, but instead, he was humble enough to accept help from others. He also gave them an opportunity to encounter the beauty of giving themselves away to others. Finally, this passage makes very clear the esteem and respect Jesus showed to women, and the fact that they were always a vital part of his mission. One lesson is to be willing to accept help, as well as to be willing to give help. Sometimes we allow our pride to get in the way and we struggle needlessly. Perhaps we fear looking weak or the judgment of others. But this is why we have a church. The church is here to provide spiritual and at times material help to those in need. And for those of us with resources, let's give generously to the church, for it's our sacrifice which changes us and allows the church to do the many good works she does. Another lesson is how to show the same kind of respect for the vital role of women in the ongoing ministry of the church that Jesus showed and shows. In 1988, Pope St. John Paul II wrote a beautiful apostolic letter entitled On the Dignity and Vocation of Women, in which we read these words, and I quote, "It's universally admitted even by people with a critical attitude toward the Christian message that in the eyes of his contemporaries, Christ became a promoter of women's true dignity and of the vocation corresponding to this dignity. At times this caused wonder, surprise, often to the point of scandal. They marveled that he was talking with a woman," that's John 4:27, "because this behavior differed from that of his contemporaries. Even Christ's own disciples marveled," end quote. We are the contemporary disciples of Jesus Christ, and we need to show the same kind of respect and love for the gift of women to the church that he did and does.